Across the ages, through deserts and jungles, civilizations separated by oceans and millennia have converged upon a single architectural form, the pyramid. Towering over landscapes, these structures were built as monuments to gods, as tombs for rulers, and as temples of knowledge. But why this shape? And how did cultures with no known connections develop such strikingly similar designs? The story of pyramids is not just about architecture, it's a story of human ambition, power, and mystery. From the parched sands of Egypt to the dense jungles of Central America, from the windswept deserts of Sudan to the river valleys of Mesopotamia, these structures have stood for thousands of years. Some were built to honour kings and emperors, while others served as stairways to the heavens. Yet despite their grandeur, many of their secrets remain buried beneath the earth, waiting to be uncovered. In this journey, we will explore some of the greatest pyramids ever built, tracing their origins, unravelling their construction, and understanding their purpose. We will travel back in time to the golden age of the pharaohs, where pyramids rose like mountains from the sands of the Nile. We will venture into the lost kingdom of Nubia, where hundreds of pyramids still stand in silence. We will explore the towering temples of the Maya and the Aztecs, where human sacrifices once took place under the gaze of stone gods. We will step onto the ruins of Mesopotamian ziggurats, where priests and astronomers studied the stars. And we will look to China and Greece, where lesser-known pyramids hide in the shadows of history. But beyond the physical structures, there are deeper mysteries. How did ancient builders move stones weighing tens of tons without modern technology? Why were so many pyramids aligned with celestial bodies? And why did so many civilizations, with no apparent contact, settle on the pyramid shape? Some believe it was sheer engineering practicality, the pyramid being the most stable structure for building at scale. Others suggest a shared spiritual or symbolic significance, linking the heavens and the earth. And of course, there are more speculative theories. Ideas of lost civilizations, ancient knowledge, even extraterrestrial influence. While history books may offer some answers, many questions remain. Even today, with modern technology and archaeology, we are still making discoveries that challenge what we thought we knew. What secrets do these structures still hold? And what can they tell us about the civilizations that built them? Let's begin our journey with the most famous pyramids of all, the monumental structures that line the banks of the Nile. Among the greatest architectural achievements in human history stand the pyramids of Egypt, monuments that have endured for thousands of years, defying time and nature. Before the pyramids, there were mastabas, rectangular tombs made of mud brick, serving as the burial sites for Egypt's elite. These structures were practical but uninspiring, marking the earliest attempts at monumental tomb building. But Egypt was a civilization that dreamed bigger. As the kingdom expanded, so did its ambitions. No longer would a pharaoh settle for a mere slab of earth to house his remains. He would command the construction of a monument that reached for the sky, a structure so grand that it would defy time itself. This shift from mastabas to pyramids marked a new era in Egypt's history, one driven by innovation, power, and an unrelenting pursuit of permanence. The catalyst for this transformation was a brilliant mind named Imhotep, a man whose genius would shape Egyptian architecture for millennia to come. Serving as the chief architect to Pharaoh Djoser, Imhotep conceived something never before attempted, a monument of stone stacked in ascending layers, rising toward the heavens. The result was the step pyramid of Saqqara, the first large-scale pyramid in history. It stood nearly 200 feet high, its towering form unlike anything the world had ever seen. More than just a tomb, it was a stairway to eternity, a divine bridge between the mortal and the celestial. The step pyramid was a marvel, but it was merely the beginning. Over the next century, Egyptian architects refined the pyramid design, striving for perfection. Pharaoh Sneferu, often regarded as Egypt's greatest builder, embarked on a relentless quest to create the first true pyramid. His early attempts, such as the bent pyramid, revealed the challenges of large-scale construction. The weight of the structure had to be perfectly distributed, or the walls would collapse. Yet, through trial and error, Sneferu finally achieved success with the Red Pyramid, the first smooth-sided pyramid in history, a direct precursor to what would soon become the most famous pyramids ever built, the Great Pyramids of Giza. The Giza pyramids were the pinnacle of Egypt's architectural mastery. Built during the reigns of Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, these monuments stood as towering symbols of the pharaoh's power. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the largest of them all, originally stood 481 feet tall, composed of over 2.3 million limestone blocks. It remained the tallest structure in the world for nearly 4,000 years. Even today, with all our modern technology, the precision with which it was built remains astonishing. The base of the pyramid is so perfectly levelled that it deviates by less than an inch, and its alignment with the cardinal points is so precise that few modern structures come close to matching it. But the pyramids were more than just architectural marvels. They were spiritual machines. Ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaoh was not merely a ruler, but a divine being, a living god who, upon death, would ascend to the afterlife to join the gods. The pyramids were designed to facilitate this journey. The shafts within the Great Pyramid point directly toward Orion's belt, a constellation linked to Osiris, the god of the afterlife. Some believe that the structure itself was a celestial map, a mirror of the stars on Earth, meant to guide the pharaoh's soul to eternity. Beyond their grandeur, beyond their celestial alignments, beyond their enigmatic presence, one question remains. How were these immense monuments built? The construction of the pyramids was a feat so ambitious, so unfathomable, that it continues to baffle historians and engineers to this day. Without cranes, modern tools, or iron, the Egyptians moved stones weighing up to 80 tons, carving and placing them with such precision that even a sheet of paper cannot fit between them. What techniques did they use? How did they lift such enormous blocks to such great heights? And perhaps most intriguing of all, could there still be hidden chambers, undiscovered secrets lying within their depths? To uncover the answers, we must step back in time into the heart of an ancient construction site, where thousands of labourers toiled under the scorching sun, shaping stone, moving earth, and raising history itself. The construction of the pyramids was one of the greatest engineering feats in human history. Without modern machinery, cranes, or power tools, the ancient Egyptians managed to transport, shape, and assemble millions of limestone and granite blocks into towering monuments that have stood the test of time. But how did they accomplish this seemingly impossible task? The process began long before the first stone was laid. A pyramid's location was chosen carefully, always close to the Nile River, which provided not only water but also a crucial transportation route for materials. The sites had to be near quality limestone quarries, ensuring that the enormous blocks could be sourced without excessive hauling. The Giza Plateau was ideal. Its elevated bedrock provided a stable foundation, and nearby quarries supplied the vast quantities of limestone needed for construction. Once the site was chosen, the ground had to be meticulously prepared. The ancient builders achieved near perfect levelling of the pyramid base, a feat that remains astonishing even today. Some theories suggest they used water-filled trenches as levelling tools, while others propose an early form of surveying using sighting poles and measurement grids. The precision was astounding. Modern laser measurements have shown that the base of the Great Pyramid is less than an inch off from being perfectly level. The pyramid's core was made of rough, locally quarried limestone, while the outer casing stones, polished white limestone, were brought in from Tura across the Nile. Some sections required granite, particularly for the internal chambers, which had to withstand immense weight. These granite blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, were transported from Aswan, nearly 500 miles away. Transporting these massive stones was a logistical nightmare, yet the Egyptians had a surprisingly effective method. Workers loaded the blocks onto sledges, wooden platforms dragged across the ground. To reduce friction, they poured water onto the sand, a simple but ingenious technique that significantly eased movement. Experiments have shown that damp sand can reduce friction by nearly 50%, making it far easier to drag heavy objects. The stones were then ferried down the Nile River on large boats before being hauled onto land and dragged to the construction site. But how were these blocks lifted into place? This remains one of history's greatest engineering puzzles. Several theories exist, each attempting to explain how the pyramids could have risen layer by layer to their immense heights. One of the oldest and most widely accepted ideas is the ramp theory. According to this theory, workers built massive straight ramps stretching for miles to drag stones up to higher levels. However, there's a problem. Such ramps would have required nearly as much material as the pyramid itself. Another version suggests a spiral ramp wrapping around the pyramid's core as it grew. This would have reduced the material needed but posed challenges for manoeuvring massive blocks around sharp turns. More recently, a theory has emerged that the Egyptians may have built internal ramps within the pyramid itself. French architect Jean-Pierre Houdin proposed that a hidden spiral passage inside the structure allowed workers to haul blocks upwards. Some scans of the Great Pyramid have revealed anomalous voids that might support this idea, but definitive proof remains elusive. Another debated method involves counterweights and pulleys, where workers may have used a system of balancing stones to hoist blocks upward. While there's little direct evidence for this in the pyramids, similar techniques were used in later Egyptian structures. As the pyramid rose, the workforce operated with remarkable organisation. Recent excavations near Giza have uncovered workers' villages, evidence that pyramid builders were not slaves as previously thought, but skilled labourers. These workers lived in large barracks, ate a diet rich in bread, beer, and meat, and were likely organised into rotating teams. Some inscriptions even reveal friendly competition between work crews, each eager to prove their superiority in pyramid construction. Once the main structure was complete, the finishing touches began. The outer casing stones were polished to a brilliant white, reflecting the sun and giving the pyramids a blinding glow that could be seen for miles. Some reports suggest that the pyramids originally gleamed so brightly that they were described as a reflection of the sun itself. Atop the pyramid, a capstone or pyramidion was often made of gold or electrum, enhancing its celestial appearance. Over the centuries, much of the outer casing has been stripped away, repurposed for later buildings, leaving behind a rough inner core. But even in their worn state, the pyramids remain a testament to the ingenuity, skill, and ambition of the ancient Egyptians. Modern archaeologists continue to investigate how these structures were built. Using thermal imaging, 3D scans, and muon detection, researchers have recently discovered hidden chambers and unexplored voids within the Great Pyramids, raising new questions. Are these simply unused construction spaces, or do they hold secrets yet to be uncovered? Even with all the research and theories, one fact remains. No one has ever been able to replicate a pyramid on the scale of Giza using only ancient techniques. Despite all our technological advancements, the exact methods of their construction remain, at least in part, an enigma. Beyond Egypt's towering monuments, across the vast desert sands of modern-day Sudan, another ancient civilization built pyramids, hundreds of them. Though lesser known, the Nubian pyramids of the Kingdom of Kush stand as silent reminders of a great and powerful African dynasty. Rising in clustered formations along the banks of the Nile, these pyramids are smaller, steeper, and more numerous than their Egyptian counterparts. And yet, they tell a story just as rich, one of influence, resilience, and a forgotten legacy. For centuries, Egypt and Nubia shared a complex relationship, one that fluctuated between trade, war, and cultural exchange. The Kushites, the rulers of Nubia, were heavily influenced by Egyptian traditions, adopting many aspects of their religion, art, and burial customs. But while the Egyptians had largely abandoned pyramid building by the time of the New Kingdom, the Kushites revived the tradition, constructing more than 200 pyramids in sites like Meroe, Napata, and Nuri. In some ways, they carried the torch of pyramid building long after Egypt had moved on. Unlike the massive pyramids of Giza, Nubian pyramids were sharply angled and much smaller, typically standing between 20 and 90 feet tall. Their compact size and narrow bases made them structurally distinct, yet they retained the same symbolic function, serving as eternal tombs for kings and queens. But the differences did not stop there. While Egyptian pyramids housed their burial chambers within the structure itself, Nubian pyramids placed their tombs underground, accessed by a shaft carved deep into the bedrock beneath the pyramid. The most famous of these sites, Meroe, was the capital of the Kushite kingdom for nearly 1,000 years. It became a flourishing centre of culture, wealth, and innovation, its pyramids standing as monuments to powerful rulers who reigned over a vast stretch of the Nile Valley. One such ruler, King Taharqa, was not only a Kushite pharaoh but also ruled over Egypt itself during the 25th dynasty, a period in which Nubia briefly controlled both kingdoms. His pyramid at Nuri is one of the largest Nubian pyramids ever built. Despite their grandeur, many of these pyramids have suffered destruction over time. In the 19th century, an infamous Italian explorer named Giuseppe Fellini raided several of these tombs, blasting the tops off pyramids in a misguided attempt to find treasure. What he found instead were remnants of a lost civilization, gold, artifacts, and inscriptions that hinted at a world largely forgotten by history. Today, the Nubian pyramids remain some of the most underappreciated monuments of the ancient world. While tourists flock to Egypt's Giza Plateau, few venture south to Sudan to see these breathtaking structures. Yet, their historical significance is undeniable. They represent not only the Kushite dynasty's connection to Egypt, but also a civilization that thrived on its own terms, creating monuments that reflected both inspiration and independence. Though smaller in scale, the Nubian pyramids stand as proof that Egypt was not the only great civilization of the Nile. And while their legacy may not be as widely known, their place in history is just as monumental. Long before the towering pyramids of Egypt or the steep tombs of Nubia, another ancient civilization built monuments that stretched toward the sky. In the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, modern-day Iraq, stood the mighty cities of Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria. And within these cities rose structures just as ambitious as the pyramids, though vastly different in function, the ziggurats. Unlike pyramids, which served as tombs for the dead, ziggurats were temples, stairways to the heavens, built to bring mortals closer to the gods. The earliest ziggurats date back over 5,000 years, constructed by the Sumerians, the first known civilization in human history. Unlike the limestone pyramids of Egypt, ziggurats were made of mud brick, a material abundant in the Mesopotamian landscapes but far less durable. Time has not been kind to these structures. While Egypt's pyramids have stood for millennia, most ziggurats have eroded into little more than mounds of clay. But in their prime, they were massive, imposing structures, dominating the skyline of ancient cities. The most famous of them all was the Etemenanki, the legendary ziggurat of Babylon, believed by some to have inspired the biblical Tower of Babel. It was dedicated to Marduk, the chief god of Babylon, and was said to have reached the clouds. Records suggest it stood over 300 feet tall, its layered terraces climbing toward the heavens. But unlike pyramids, ziggurats were not hollow structures. They were solid, with no inner chambers or tombs. Instead, they served as elevated platforms for temples, where only priests and kings could ascend, offering sacrifices and prayers to the gods. Each ziggurat was built in tiered levels, often with 3 to 7 platforms, connected by steep staircases. The higher the level, the more sacred it became. At the summit, a temple or shrine would house the statue of the city's patron deity, believed to descend from the heavens to inhabit the space. Ordinary citizens were not allowed to climb the ziggurat. Instead, they worshipped from below, gazing up at what they believed was the dwelling place of the gods. Among the best preserved ziggurats is the Great Ziggurat of Ur, built around 2100 BCE by King Ur-Nammu. It still stands today, though partially reconstructed, its weathered bricks telling the story of a civilization that once ruled the fertile lands of Mesopotamia. This ziggurat was dedicated to Nana, the moon god, and was once surrounded by an elaborate temple complex, bustling with priests, astronomers, and royal attendants. Though Mesopotamian ziggurats and Egyptian pyramids were built for different purposes, they share one undeniable similarity. Both symbolized a connection between earth and the divine. In Egypt, the pyramid's towering shape was meant to guide the pharaoh's soul into the afterlife. In Mesopotamia, the ziggurat steps were a literal stairway to the gods, ensuring the deities remained close to the people. But there was one crucial difference. While the pyramids still stand as enduring relics of Egypt's golden age, most ziggurats have crumbled, lost to time. The ruins of these once great temples now lie buried beneath the sands, their bricks worn down by centuries of wind and rain. Yet, even in their decay, they tell the story of humanity's first great civilization, a people who built monuments not to themselves, but to the gods they worshipped. The ziggurats of Mesopotamia may no longer pierce the sky, but their influence echoes through history. The idea of a sacred, tiered temple would be passed down through the ages, influencing later religious architecture, from the step pyramids of Mesoamerica to the towering cathedrals of Europe. And though their walls have crumbled, their legacy endures, written in the clay tablets of Sumer and the ruins of the world's first cities. Across the vast jungles of Central America, hidden beneath layers of dense vegetation, lie the remnants of towering stone temples, pyramids built not for tombs, nor as stairways for gods, but as sacred centres of power and ritual. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, the pyramids of Mesoamerica were built to bring the divine closer to the people. Towering platforms from which kings, priests and warriors carried out elaborate ceremonies, some of them peaceful, others drenched in blood. The civilizations of the Maya, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, and the earlier builders of Teotihuacan all constructed pyramids, though their designs differed significantly from those in the Old World. Instead of smooth-sided structures with hidden chambers, Mesoamerican pyramids were step pyramids, often with a grand staircase leading to a flat summit where temples, shrines, or altars were placed. They were not sealed tombs for rulers, but active sites of worship, where offerings, sacrifices, and sacred rituals were performed under the gaze of the gods. Perhaps the most famous of all Mesoamerican pyramids is the Pyramid of the Sun, located in the ancient city of Teotihuacan near modern-day Mexico City. Built around 200 CE, long before the rise of the Aztecs, this pyramid stands at 216 feet tall, making it one of the largest pyramids in the world. Its base rivals that of the Great Pyramid of Giza, yet its purpose remains shrouded in mystery. Teotihuacan, often called the City of the Gods, was already abandoned by the time the Aztecs discovered it. They believed it had been built by an earlier race of divine beings, and they adopted the city as a sacred pilgrimage site. Further south, deep in the heart of the Yucatan Peninsula, the Maya built some of the most striking pyramids of the ancient world. Their structures, unlike those of Egypt, were often adorned with intricate carvings, glyphs, and statues depicting the gods, rulers, and mythological creatures of their civilization. The most famous of these is El Castillo, or the Temple of Kukulkan, at Chichen Itza. This pyramid, built by the Maya around 900 CE, is a masterpiece of astronomical precision. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, the setting sun casts shadows along the temple's staircase, creating the illusion of a serpent slithering down the pyramid's edge, a tribute to Kukulkan, the feathered serpent god. But these pyramids were not just architectural wonders. They were sites of public spectacle, political power, and sacrifice. The Aztecs, who ruled central Mexico in the 14th and 15th centuries, took ritual sacrifice to unprecedented levels. At the heart of their capital, Tenochtitlan, stood the Templo Mayor, a double pyramid dedicated to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war, and Tlaloc, the god of rain. It was here that the most infamous ceremonies took place. Human sacrifices meant to nourish the gods and ensure cosmic balance. Warriors, captives, and volunteers alike were led to the temple summit, where priests would cut out their beating hearts before casting the bodies down the steps. For the Aztecs, blood was the fuel of creation, and the gods demanded it in return for the continued existence of the world. Despite their differences from the pyramids of Egypt and Mesopotamia, Mesoamerican pyramids served a similar purpose. They were bridges between the human and the divine. They were not passive monuments, but living, breathing centers of religious life, shaping the way entire civilizations viewed the universe. And though many have been swallowed by the jungle, their stories endure, written in stone, whispered through the winds that sweep across their ancient ruins. While the towering pyramids of Egypt, Mesoamerica, and Mesopotamia have captivated the world, they are not the only civilizations to construct these massive geometric monuments. Across continents and centuries, the pyramid shape has appeared time and again in places far removed from one another. Whether built for burial, worship, or as cosmic markers, pyramids seem to hold a universal significance, one that transcends culture, geography, and even time itself. One of the most intriguing and least known pyramid building civilizations lies far to the east, in the heart of China. Scattered across the Shanxi province, hidden beneath rolling hills and grassy landscapes, lie the pyramids of China, massive tomb-like structures that remain shrouded in mystery. Unlike their Egyptian counterparts, these pyramids were not built from limestone, but rather from rammed earth, giving them a softer, more eroded appearance over time. The most famous of them all is the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, the final resting place of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, who unified the warring states and left behind a legacy of power, control, and innovation. His pyramid, still largely unexcavated, is said to contain an entire replica of his empire, complete with rivers of flowing mercury and a ceiling painted to resemble the night sky, adorned with stars. But perhaps the most astonishing discovery tied to this burial site was the terracotta army, thousands of life-sized clay soldiers, each unique, standing in formation to protect the emperor in the afterlife. Despite modern advancements in archaeology, the full secrets of this pyramid remain hidden. The Chinese government has restricted full excavation, fearing that exposure to the elements might irreparably damage its contents. And so, the Great Pyramid of China remains sealed, a forgotten giant buried beneath the earth. Farther west, in a land known more for its philosophers than its ancient monuments, stand the pyramids of Greece. While nowhere near as grand as those of Egypt or China, these structures, such as the Pyramid of Hellinikon, have puzzled historians for centuries. Some scholars argue that they may even predate the Egyptian pyramids, though definitive evidence is scarce. Unlike the pyramids of the Nile, these Greek structures were likely built for defensive or ceremonial purposes rather than royal burials. Were they watchtowers? Temples? Theories abound, but their true purpose remains a mystery. But pyramids were not limited to the ancient world. Even in more recent history, pyramid-like structures have continued to appear. From the step pyramids of Indonesia, built by the Majapahit Empire, to the pyramidal tombs of West Africa, where kings were buried in mounds reminiscent of the great structures of the past. Even in Europe and North America, echoes of pyramidal architecture persist, in the form of grand mausoleums, ceremonial mounds, and modern monuments inspired by the same mathematical and symbolic principles that guided the ancients. What is it about this shape that has drawn civilizations toward it, time and time again? Is it purely structural, the easiest way to build a lasting monument? Or does the pyramid hold a deeper, almost instinctual meaning, one embedded in the very way humans perceive power, divinity, and the cosmos? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear. The pyramid is more than just a building. It is a universal symbol, a shape that defies time, connecting civilizations that never met, yet somehow dreamed the same dream. Throughout history, pyramids have stood as silent sentinels of the past, their towering forms etched against the skies, whispering secrets of lost civilizations. But why did so many cultures, separated by vast distances and with no known contact, arrive at the same architectural conclusion? Was it merely an accident of engineering? A shape that naturally lends itself to stability and longevity? Or does the pyramid hold a deeper, more universal significance, one that transcends time and borders? The simplest explanation is structural. A pyramid, with its broad base and narrowing peak, is one of the most stable forms in architecture. Unlike tall, vertical towers, which can be weakened by their own weight, pyramids distribute their mass evenly, making them resistant to collapse. For early civilizations seeking to build monuments that would stand the test of time, the pyramid was an obvious choice. But structural integrity alone cannot explain the mystical allure of pyramids. Across the world, these structures were often aligned with celestial bodies, built in harmony with the stars. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, is aligned so precisely with the cardinal directions that modern compasses struggle to match its accuracy. Some believe this was intentional, a means of linking the pharaoh's soul to the cosmos. The Mayan temple of Kukulkan was designed so that on the equinox, a shadowy serpent would slither down its steps, an astronomical event planned with astonishing precision. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats were seen as literal stairways to the gods, built to bring deities closer to the earth. These alignments have led some to speculate that pyramids were not just physical structures, but spiritual machines. designed to channel energy, connect with the heavens, or even act as a gateway to other realms. Some theories go even further. Alternative historians have long speculated that the advanced knowledge required to build these monuments suggests a lost chapter of human history. Were there ancient civilizations far older than we currently recognize, possessing knowledge that was later lost? Could the pyramids be remnants of a forgotten age of human achievement? And then, of course, there are the more unorthodox theories. Some claim that pyramids are evidence of extraterrestrial influence, pointing to the mathematical precision of their construction as something beyond the capabilities of ancient societies. Others believe they served as power plants, capable of harnessing natural energy fields, though no scientific evidence supports these claims. While these ideas capture the imagination, the truth is likely far more grounded, yet equally fascinating. The pyramids are a testament to the ingenuity, ambition, and vision of humanity itself. Despite all we have learned, pyramids remain filled with mystery. New discoveries are still being made. In 2017, a massive hidden chamber was detected inside the Great Pyramid using cosmic ray technology, a void so large it could hold a commercial airplane. Yet, its purpose remains unknown. What other secrets might still lie buried beneath the sands of Egypt, the jungles of Mesoamerica, or the unexcavated tombs of China? One thing is certain: pyramids are more than just monuments. They are symbols of eternity, power, and the human desire to reach beyond our limitations. They are proof that long before the modern world, civilizations dreamed of building something greater than themselves. Structures that would stand long after their people had vanished, watching over the earth like stone guardians of the past. And as long as they remain standing, we will continue to search for their secrets, to listen to their silent voices, and to wonder about the people who built them, not just with stone and sweat, but with dreams of eternity.